Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for checking out Going Deeper. I'm your host, Matt, and I've got a great show planned for you tonight. You'll know my next guests. Well, you'll know my next guest from her appearances on such websites as badmilfs.com and milf.com. But she's also the co-host of the Just Cruz'n Podcast with her husband and fellow performer. I don't know you that well.
Yes.
But that's what we hope to do, get to know you. And fellow performer, J.R. Cruz. You can find links to all of her social media in the episode description or at JazmineCruzXXX.com. But I also really want to recommend you go and check out her OnlyFans at Jazmine Cruz Fans. Like I said, links to everything in the episode description. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming the spectacular Jazmine Cruz and the handsome, I don't have a lot of adjectives for men on this one, very good looking J.R.
Charming
Cruz.
is good. Or
Charming. How are you folks doing tonight?
We're doing wonderful, as a matter of fact.
That's good. That's good to hear. Can you guys take me, whether it's separate or together, through your journey entering into the adult, any form of it, whether it's camming, stripping? When was the first time either of you, both of you at the same time decided, like, this is it, we're going to make this jump, this is what we want to do. We're willing to put ourselves out there and, let the chips fall where they may.
So, you want me to do it?
You go first and I'll just chime in after.
Okay. So, basically, it all started while I was stationed in Korea. And one of my soldiers had, that we become friends with, had mentioned that she reminded her of Asa Akira.
Okay.
And somehow we started talking about getting into the adult industry. She enjoyed it. We'd been in the lifestyle for almost a decade at that time.
That's true.
So it was like, and she was starting to do some modeling and everything. And she introduced us to a friend who kind of helped get us started, setting up her OnlyFans and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Flash forward a couple of years, we moved to Georgia. We started meeting other folks and getting her bookings with different Jesus, I can't talk today, apparently.
You're good. You're good.
Started getting her some different bookings with modeling, more adult themed modeling.
Implied and nude.
And then Laura Cross was one of the first girls that you shot
with Laura Cross, yes.
So, okay, I got to take 5 steps back. Military, what branch?
Army, 20 years.
My former co-host, who left this show not on bad terms just because he wanted more time with his family. We still do a comedy show together. He was, where'd he go? Afghanistan. He was a Marine. Okay. The ironic thing, too, the strange turn of events here is, Jazmine, can I ask what nationality you are?
I'm Filipino.
That is my co-host's wife, Kiki Filipina. You can find her showings. She's also a performer. But yeah, military, beautiful Filipino women. That's a trend I've heard for the last 15 years from my friend.
Yes.
So, okay. All right. Thank you for your service. I was a pussy. I went to college. But
no
what I will say, not college, community college. I should have said that.
Same thing.
Yeah, close enough. Jazmine, what's the first, okay, let me take it even more steps back. So you guys were already in the lifestyle at the time. You were swinging, now, at that time, what kind of, limitations or things did you have? Did you have boundaries within your relationship? Like, this is totally fine, but this, JR's not cool with it, or?
I would say, actually, JR is pretty much supportive in anything I do. He always encouraged it. And I first started out when I started off with Girl and toys first. And he helped me work on the toy part because there were so many out there and he had to help, experiment how to use them. So what better way to use the toys on me? And then after a while, he just said, you're free to do what you like, but also be comfortable what you like. So I really didn't go right to boy, girl. Yeah, I did girl first and toys. Sure. And then after that, for him, it was more of I wasn't ready to have a full swap yet, as they said. It was more of we'll join maybe one person in the equation.
Well, let me
stuff like that.
Let me pause your story. You weren't open to a full swap yet. Now, was that just Why was that? Was there any kind of jealousy, or was it fear that you might be jealous afterwards, or were you? I was gonna say, were you scared of being with another guy in that instance, or
No, it's just I just had jealousy issues. I'm over it now. When I look back, it was stupid.
So the whole thing kind of started because I needed to actually get sleep, and this girl wanted sex like 4, 5, 6 times a day.
Oh, I'm crying for you, Jay. Oh, it's so sad. Oh, I'm looking at her, and you're saying this beautiful woman wants sex all the time. What am I gonna do? I'm not tearing up, but continue your story.
Try to invite some friends to kind of step in, tag in, and let me take a nap sometimes.
Sure.
Yeah,
I've got a job to do.
So you don't have any kind of any of that aspect. You're just like, okay, and I would assume, I don't know, because my wife and I have been I'm 36 now. I've been with my wife since I was 19, actually, and we've never even really considered that, because fear, not even the real jealousy, just the fear of jealousy or fear of anxiety, or for both of us, if I'm enjoying it, who knows, maybe. So it's never been a discussion, but you don't have any of that then, it seems like, or to an extent, obviously, right?
No, I mean, like our only boundary is that, don't hide it from me.
Sure.
That's the only kind of really form of cheating in our definition of the lifestyle, is if we were to hide it from one another. So
now again, oh, sorry, I apologize. Go ahead, continue.
No, it's not a big deal at all.
Sure.
But so one of those things that I know was a similar thing. Like, well, what if he enjoys it more with the other girl or something like that? And what I explained to her was that, like, look, everything else is fun, but like with you, you're the only one that I'm ever going to be with. So anything that someone else say does really well, I'm going to share that with her, and she's going to share something, stuff that another guy does well for her. And it's just going to make us better in the sack.
Sure.
It's just going to, in the long run, it's just going to make us that much better at doing what we do.
Well, it's funny that, I mean, I assume maybe, no, not a lot. I don't know how to word this the right way, but Swinger is the perfect setup for this to me, to go into the adult entertainment industry, only because it's you have to learn to separate the emotional from the physical. Look, this is my fucking job. I'm going to go have sex and this and that. And it should be passionate, and it should feel good, and it should whatever. But like, Jazmine, who's the only person you want to come home and watch a movie on the couch with?
This guy.
There. And
I'm just kidding. Wait, which guy?
One of them. But that's kind of the point, and I think that's what people not don't understand, but maybe can't grasp. Because again, as a jealous, I've never thought, and even though I do this podcast and everything else, I've never been like, oh, we should think about being swingers. But that's just me, because I have such a deep connection. I don't have that ability to separate that. Jazmine, did you always have that ability to? I guess you didn't always have that ability. What made you come around to having that ability to separate those two things?
Yeah, I think with experience, I think when JR gave me opportunity to say, let's try it out. And the first thing he said was like, you don't have to do it as soon as we meet someone. And, you can get comfortable with that person. And then with him saying that, I guess that didn't happen.
Sorry, I was getting rid of a
We actually did have our swing experience with someone we just met, which doesn't usually happen. But I guess it surprised him. I guess the vibe was great. They talked about books. I'm an intellectual type, so something about turns me on. If someone talks about maybe algorithms or derivatives, it just does something to me. I don't know. I guess it gets me all turned about formulas and stuff.
Yeah, last book I read was Charlotte's Web in about third grade. JR, are you? Oh, well, my wife always does say I'm some pig. That's a reference to Charlotte's Web. Anyway, JR, shit, I just lost my question. It was piggybacking off of that, but in terms of just the relationship itself, are you also like a book smart, like intelligent, like algorithm driven guy, or is it your opposites that kind of make the puzzle pieces? You look like you're built. You look like you hit the gym. a lot.
I used to a lot more than I do now. I've
Yeah,
definitely
I say the
come
same
that
thing
bod
too.
This
than,
is his gym. This is his gym right here.
There's one gym body on this call, and
Yeah.
I understand who it.
Trusting
Okay,
me.
yeah.
fair enough.
No,
Fair enough.
So I'm a bit of an intellectual, but it's not from say like, going to college and stuff like that. It's just
Life
I'm very
experience.
inquisitive and I love learning about things, about what makes people tick.
Mhm.
So I'll look and I'll research and I'll go through rabbit holes figuring out stuff just to kind of because I want to know.
Big
But
Wiki.
it's really more driven from my from my desire to talk to people.
Are you a big Wikipedia guy?
I
Oh,
try to
man.
avoid
Oh.
Wikipedia. Just
I'll
'cause-
fall down holes for hours on Wikipedia. I start on the first episode of Deadwood, and somehow I end on German monarchs, and I'm just like,
that's true. Yes.
how'd I get there? But there was some connection. Okay, so you guys have similar personalities then, so that makes it a little bit easier.
Make sure.
Let's talk about content. Okay, so. The first time you were reached out to shoot like a mainstream shoot, Jazmine, do you remember who that was? May not.
Like a professional production?
Yes. Yeah. The first time when you were really when they reached out to you and they're like, want you on the big show. This is the major leagues. You've been doing great work, but we want you in the major leagues.
Well, I would say it was Blaze Studios was my very first production that was professional. Mark Blaze is amazing. When I first worked with him, I told him it's my first time to do a milking table, first time for a gangbang. So, and
the gangbang was later.
It was later on, but other than that, that's another story. That's another story. But and then I had to rate dicks. I think he has that video hidden, but when he said literally to rate dicks,
he buried that shit.
I actually looked very, very bored because I don't know. I think the one that pops in my head when he goes, so from a scale from 1 to 5, what would you, or 1 to 10, whatever he said,
1 to 5,
1 to 5, what would you rate it? And I'm sitting here like, well, a 0 because I didn't see any cum. I was like, so on a 1 to 5, still a 0, did nothing for me. And I'm thinking there was no motion. I was stoic. I just sat there. I was like, oh, I didn't know it was about emotion. I didn't know what dick rating was like.
So it was.
I had no idea.
That was so. One of the things it was about her watching these like jerk off videos and then reacting.
Actually, was it at a table? The jerk off, the guys jerking on a table.
I don't know. I didn't actually see the video.
I may have actually seen this series before. I apologize. It popped in my head. Was it like kind of like? Oh, yeah. Okay. I think
it was like
he's
sitting on a sofa and he's jerking himself off and like different.
Okay, I may have. Yeah, I apologize.
But it was probably watching a low budget like film. Like it's the most.
But yeah, so it was. So she was. One of the things was just she was supposed to watch these 4 or 5 different videos and then rate them. And so at first it was a reaction video. And so he's like, all right, we're just gonna hit play and we'll go from there. And so he hits play and she's just kind of sitting there, just looking at the screen, just like irritated that she's got to watch this or something.
Like this going on.
And then Mark goes, okay, cut. So Jazmine, the key to a reaction video is to react. Like, ow.
Sometimes I'll say something and I'll look at the person I'm interviewing and I go, did Zoom freeze? Why are they not moving? And they're just like, no, I'm just waiting for you to say the next thing. I'm like, oh.
It's a pause for dramatic effect.
Yeah.
Sure. Some of these pauses are a little long. Yeah. So, what's funny though, and what's so great about porn is you could have obviously it doesn't fit your brand, but I mean, I cut that one clip out where you're like 0, and that's a good small penis humiliation video, right?
Oh,
maybe so, again, maybe it's not the brand, but I'm just thinking of if you were an individual shooting something like this and it didn't turn out the way you want it to, could you just rebrand it in another way? So Jazmine, you say you like talking about the algorithms and this and that and intelligent, like smart people tech stuff.
Yes.
What is the best way for new girls to get recognized in the industry?
I would say for me would be setting up their own platforms, going to these porn conventions, networking with people like us to give them some guidance on how we started with our social media, getting introduced to the right people and start that way, because when we started, we didn't really have much direction. Nobody we knew at the time didn't tell us, hey, set these platforms up. This is what you got to do. Go to these conventions. We were just totally lost. But right now, that's the point of our podcast, is to mentor other, new performers, give them part of it, yeah, to give them the right direction, where to go to, what are good and safe ways to practice, getting tested at the right times, going to the right testing centers, testing within that week when you do content, and just safety practices. Because right now, I don't think enough is said. So that's why a podcast like us will help others, give them the right, awareness.
Well, when you're done listening to the Just Cruz'n podcast, you can also check out my side podcast, which you might find interesting. I call it Brand New Faces. And what I do is I reach out to girls who show they have some form of work ethic, meaning they are consistently posting. I don't want to hitch my wagon to somebody who is going to quit in 2 weeks, right? But I do interviews with newer girls and try and give them like an audience or some form of an audience. But that's such an important thing I talk about. Even something as basic as a link tree. So many new girls have no idea how powerful even just something where everything is concentrated can be, and we're gonna do something at the end about new performers that maybe you'll like, but I really enjoy hearing that, because so many times I've interviewed like strippers, and when you hear the behind the scenes at a strip club, it's either it's 2% of the time very, very sweet and everybody's collaborative and everyone helps, and then the other 98% of the time it's fucking Mad Max and you're like making sure you don't get scalped in the back room. The interviews I've done, at least, okay? So it's nice that the porn community to some extent is collaborative in not just scenes and work like that, but help too, right? Like, were you given help by other people? Not a lot of help, but like advice or mentorship or anything like that?
Yeah, it was Daisy Fox and Mr. J. They researched my Twitter, or X, what's it called.
Whatever.
And they're like, this is not your personality. Why is it so stiff? We saw you at you're a stripper. Your personality is like an explosion of energy. And then we see you in the Twitter going like this, like in your photos, like this. Like, stick your tongue out, show that energy. And it went from a few hundreds to now I'm over like 20K of followers organically.
Yeah.
It took years to like build it up, because I didn't know where to go, but
also some of our friends who we knew from the swinger community, there's also been tremendous help. Peter Fitzwell and Naomi Fox.
Cool.
I don't know what it is with the Fox at the last name. It's always been held as Daisy Fox.
Sure.
Naomi Fox. Naomi Banks is a totally different girl.
I mean, Naomi Fox. I thought I said Fox.
You said Fox and then you said Banks at the end, which was weird.
Did I?
But anywho,
I have no idea. I say a sentence and I forgot I said it. Yeah.
But no, like, it's so, because people have been so helpful for us when we were getting started, we want to pay it forward, and help others, and different stuff like safety and things. Like, we have a team dynamic, which is good and good for her. So, whenever she's going to say a new shoot or shoot with somebody new, I'll be there as well. If I'm not running camera, I'll at least show up, help get the paperwork stuff done, and then I'll move on to wherever I'm supposed to go, and I'll pick her up when she's done. But just little things like that can be a deterrent to potential predators out there. Because there's still a lot in the industry, and safety is a huge thing. And so we really, especially these younger, newer models, we want to make sure that they're safe.
Yeah. Safety's my biggest thing too. When it comes to things like you'll be published online forever, this and that, that's a decision you have to make. And, you should make that wisely and use your brain if that's what you want to do. But as far as the safety aspect, the newer girls who don't get paid or get jerked around for their content, or, I'll send it to you next month, blah, 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 all that bullshit. That's got to be out. Like, that's predatory. That's not even, that's below like sleazy businessman. That's like scumbag stuff. I heard earlier there's an interesting story about a gangbang.
Yes.
Okay. So let me ask, was this the first on camera gangbang you had done?
No, this is my second one.
No, that was your first.
What? Oh, the one I just did?
The
Oh,
Valentine's Day.
oh yeah, it was my first one, yes.
Okay, that was your first one. Okay. Nothing, you never had anything like that in the swinger community, or just not like a full on? Okay. Did you ever, any two guys and you?
Oh, before my husband.
Well, we've had some guy
Or after.
we've had some threesomes with another dude.
Yeah, we
before.
have, yes.
Okay.
That's not new, but it was funny because I talked to Mark about it, and since she was going to be traveling and I was going to be back home for Valentine's Day, that was what we decided to name it as a theme. It was gangbang for my Valentine.
That's pretty cute. Yeah. Any anxiety going into that, Jazmine, or had you done? Oh, okay. So you said you had it prior in your life, a gangbang. Going into this, what's different? Just you're going to be on camera.
I guess the different is on camera, and I'm actually with professionals. So it was Peter Fitzwell, Johnny Cartel, Dominic Flint, who's been in the industry for years. But I knew that when I was getting into this, how big of a crazy goof. We're all goofy, silly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Mark Blaze had to keep cutting it because we made like jokes here and there, laughed a lot. And he goes, okay, this is a gangbang. We got to be like, getting sexually ready. And here we are talking about, Thundercats, let's go, hand clap, all for the team. We're like, all right, simmer down. But at the same time, we're having a good time. And it made me nervous because to live up to the expectations of professionalism, I want to be just as great as them. I'm looking at to them as like really successful professionals, and I want to live up to that standard. But, me that loves sex, I think it went really great. So I had a great time.
So going into it, it's not obviously it's not a concern about safety, but it's not a concern about safety or even the professionalism of the guys you're working with, because they're all professionals.
I already would know them and I met them.
Sure,
Yeah,
it's more your own anxiety of reaching up to that level of working with them, it sounded like, right?
Yes, and making it perfect for the video and for them, because they're the ones that really putting, their hard work into it.
Sure. Yeah. I think so. Can you guys take me? All right. This is an interesting question. Maybe. I don't know. Can you take me into your own content that you shoot? Now, there was, I apologize. I just lost my question again. It has been a long fucking week.
That's okay.
No, I know what it is. Sorry. The content you shoot, is it more fun and goofy like you were doing to get yelled at by Mark? I mean, do you ever put your own personality into stuff like that? Or have you guys tightened it up and been like, well, since we've been in this industry more, we understand it needs to, or you'd like it to have some little tighter level of professionalism?
I think it's a combination of both.
For sure.
I think we like to make it organic, but utilize our own creativity. I think that's one thing. He produces a lot of the content I make. We work together, put our brains together, and sometimes I create his scenario. So we actually build upon it. He told me to write down my notes because I have so many in my head in my cell phone, and we just put it to reality. We're like, okay, let's make it happen. I like this Dr. Hotwife scene. I like this, nerdy bun scene, or whatever, fuck my husband while I watch scene, because that's the series we do. And now it's just a lot of people that we brought in to collab with, they really like it. They're like, when do we get to go in that scene of Dr. Hotwife or fuck my husband while I watch scene, It's more of they get to utilize their character. We want their character. We want their personality to show. I mean, we may have a few lines here and there, but we improv it to make it fun for everyone.
Yeah, so we basically, it's almost like structured chaos is probably about the best way to label it. So like we came up with the Dr. Hotwife series, which a lot of it are elements of who she actually is
in real life. I'm a sexual addiction therapist.
In real life, that's like you're certified. Okay.
No,
okay.
I can be a pervy version.
She doesn't have a PhD. She takes PhDs.
Yes. Yeah.
Sure. Pretty hard or pretty huge?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
But no. So basically, so we came up with this character, Dr. Hotwife, and that was how we kind of built that around so she would have different patients, couples, singles. Eventually, we're going to start doing some group therapy stuff. But just all kind of centralized around the whole Dr. Hot Wife thing. So it starts off with just doing a little bit of talking and dialogue, and then they move into the treatment room,
Sure.
which is where all of the fun starts.
Yeah.
So, and they're just, so the dialogue stuff is campy and funny, and,
Sure.
you know.
Okay.
A little bit. I would say most porn scenes are percentage campy. If it's not like a Gonzo scene, like I look at Johnny Sins, I go, "You're not a doctor and a lawyer. That's bullshit." So a little bit. Do you guys have a history at all in production, or was this totally fucking new for you guys jumping into all this?
Totally new. Wow. I think from what we've seen, we've worked with Ray and her husband. Her husband produces. They do creative like stuff too with their minds and write down their own stuff. And I'm like, JR, I think we could do that too. We've pretty much like creative, narratives ourselves and make it goofy, fun, but yet, very professional. We could mix it all up.
So they were kind of the inspiration for how we built our production stuff. Like, we're not as stringent as them yet. We're not even close to their level as far as like production quality. Like, I mean, they're lighting their cameras. We're still on cell phone and some Temu freaking lights.
We're working it.
You know what? That content. Okay. First off, I have an interview with Ray next week, so I will be sure to mention all the glowing reviews you gave of your content before I check it out beforehand.
He's one of our besties.
Just friends help. Oh, okay, never mind. I thought maybe it was a loose connection. I was going to try and bond it a little closer. Like, my God, did they just babble about how great you were for hours? But
all of our exoticas, we usually stay in an Airbnb with them.
Oh, okay, that's very cool. Yeah. That's cool to have friends. Okay, so before the production question, has there ever been a crossover between you guys?
So we've shot for them. Okay. She's done a couple of I was an extra. We were an extra in one of their scenes, and then we did in Chicago. We did a fun one that was pretty silly but fun. I was a male hooker that they pulled out of retirement. She was my pimp.
Cool.
And it started off with a lot of kind of like humiliation and shit. They were bullying the hell out of me. I'm like, wait, y'all brought me out of retirement for this? And of course, she was then like, oh, you brought him out of retirement for this? So like they were mean, and she was dommy, and like, just all sorts of crazy stuff. It was so funny. We had to cut it quite a few times because they were giggling, or Ray would like slap me or something, and then
too nice of a slap.
And we're too nice. Then she would hit me hard, and then she's like, "Oh my God, was that okay? Are you all right?" Like, I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." Like, I was supposed to cry on command, so I'm crying on command. Like, these aren't real tears, I promise.
You're just a hell of an actor, and she wasn't recognizing it in the moment, but perhaps she does now. I understand.
Dude, it was great though. Like, there was one part of it where it's like, she looks at me and she goes, "You're like a sexy walrus, but old and sad." And I'm like, "Wait, but still sexy?" And she's like, "No." And so then she grabs him by the face and she's like, "Make a walrus sound." I was like, what? And then Ray grabs me by the throat, gets this close, and is like, "Do it." And so I'm like, yeah. And then
I immediately was like, what fucking sound do walruses make? Oh, God, JR is fucked here. Yeah. But then he pulled it out. Improv skills.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, no, I mean, it was super fun. And then, I was their personal fuck toy for the rest of the scene.
Yeah. Terrible tragedy. I feel
hated
bad.
Every moment of it. It was awesome.
Tell me about your guys' podcast. The Just Cruz'n Podcast, links obviously in the episode description. We talked about it a little with the segment. There's a segment of it about giving advice to new people. What's the full thing of it, though?
So part of it all started with us. We drive basically everywhere. Like, I don't like flying, and if I do fly, like, I've got to fly first class, or I'll just drive.
Sure.
I get more room. I don't have to deal with weight restrictions,
Mhm.
and it's fun. We just talk and shit like that. And so for a while, we're like, oh, this should be on a podcast. And it kind of slowly built on from there. And it's like kind of one of the major things that we try to do is we cultivate a safe space for others to share parts of themselves and be their authentic selves. Where they can kind of get it, where the fans can kind of get a peek behind the curtain, and learn a little bit more about all of us on a personal side. Because yes, we do a whole bunch of amazing things and fun things and sexy things in front of the camera, but we're also like parents. We do things like go to the grocery store, like all of these just kind of mundane things that normal people do because we are normal people.
And
we just
I make
have a
egg
job.
rolls, and I make egg rolls.
Yes, dear. You make
She makes egg rolls. And there's that as well. Obviously, yes, the egg rolls.
But so really, just people look at us and see us as like these terrible individuals because of what we do, and it's like, well, that's just a job.
Mm-hmm.
And then we, go home and take care of our families and do normal things.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
so
you're saying you're saying world famous porn stars don't go home to an orgy and then wake up and then go to set and then also have okay, I just wasn't positive about that.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry to burst that bubble.
Yeah.
It's why I do my show too. If you notice, I haven't had any of those hack questions really. Like, hey, so Jazmine, do you like anal? Like, is that something you like? Like, honestly, I want to know you as the performer. I like talking. Truthfully, I like talking the business aspect. I like talking. What I've been on a real kick lately is talking about how great I think it is when a stripper will see a guy in a corner, like hanging out with his buddies, and then he hits the ATM for the third time after he said he wasn't going to spend any money. One of my favorite, as long as it's not his mortgage or his kid's braces payment, one of my favorite things in the whole world. So I like talking about stuff like that. I'm not, whatever. But I do want to talk about your actual content, like shit you have coming up, stuff you want to produce, scenes you want to do, people you want to work with maybe. Talk me through like the next 6 months, year, 2 years of your content.
Okay, so I see us still producing our series. And what I want to do is to expand with our podcast, get our brand out there, because like we just started just a few months ago, got 7 episodes published on Apple CarPlay, iHeartRadio, and Spotify.
Sure.
So I think people are really listening in. I mean, I really want to thank AVN Media Network, Don DeMarco, all of the people.
That's our PR guy.
That's our PR guy that helped push our podcast, because surprisingly, we were just interviewing Nikki Huntsman, and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, everyone's like,
man, that was a great episode too.
It was a great episode. And it showcased all our personalities, and we're all silly, but we want to maintain that silly yet, we are sophisticated, classy, but we could be fun and exciting. I know I'm still an exotic dancer, aka stripping, whatever you may call it. I still do it, but I feel like I want to teach some classes, maybe like, on my tutorials. I want to do that, I want to do reels and do it where people can watch me and ask questions. And just, we want to be at the level maybe in a few years where we'll be hiring, just like Ray and her husband does, the talent. We'll give them guidance and,
Yeah. Eventually, the goal is for that part is to be able to hire people. Mm-hmm. We keep the content and stuff like that. We're not opposed to continuing to do collabs as well, but like we want to really get our stuff to established as we want to get our production studio actually like more established.
Sure.
Hopefully within the next year, we want to have our mobile podcast, which is hopefully a motorhome.
Sure.
So we can road trip from there, have couples come along, and then even do some like vlogs while we're on a road trip to whatever the event is.
That's really interesting. If you keep it current events, you have to release it, in real time almost.
Yeah.
But if you did a road tripping around the U.S., interviewing other sex workers, this and that, but keep it time relevant, like keep it evergreen, meaning you could really release it 6 months from now or 2 months from now. You guys could do a whole series of going to maybe I don't know where. I guess I wouldn't.
Well, AVN and X3 would be like kind of like the ideal one.
Sure,
Because kind of going through the southern states and up to California for X3, and then come back to Vegas, and then work our way back from there would be the ideal.
I was picturing you guys with unlimited money and time, which I guess was unrealistic of me, and going to those porn stars who live in like Cleveland and being like, "Look, another human being you can see for the first time. Let's interview you."
No,
blah, blah,
absolutely.
blah.
Like that was,
yeah, but I was
out.
picking real shitty places for you to go. By the way, I was going to be like, so they'll stop in Iowa for a while.
Yeah, absolutely, like, Lawton, Oklahoma.
yeah. There are content creators in these places though, which is so crazy. I interviewed a girl yesterday, a big name star, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm in Iowa." I'm like, I don't know how you did that. She has to fly out to get tested because there's nothing anywhere. Real? Okay, all right. So you guys are aware of that, huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't give me details, but where are you guys?
We're in Augusta, Georgia.
Okay, cool. Go ahead, talk about that. No testing near you?
So there is any lab test now that's affiliated with talent testing, and then we're gonna start looking more into like Empower up in Atlanta as a potential thing. But right now, whenever we plan our trips, like we leave a day or two early to get tested in one of the actual facilities, because it ends up we spend less money driving there and testing than spending the money to test here. And of course, when you're a couple, like it's even crazier because everything's times 2. So like $330 is kind of a rough estimate of how much you spend if you get tested at a satellite site. Then times 2. So then you're talking over $600.
Yeah. I mean, I understand, that, but the fact that it's so expensive and you guys are always on the hook for that. Obviously, and it's okay. It's good that you're getting tested. Yeah. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend the alternative,
so, It's not like it ends up benefiting us in the long run, not just for like personal health, sexual health, safety, all of that, but also at the end of we've got to have some, expenses to kind of take down from our income.
Sure. Yeah. No, you're right on that.
It's not a big deal. I'm like, okay, spend a little money to make a little money and then get a little money back at the end of the year, hopefully.
Yeah, it still sucks you gotta pay it though, or travel so far at least. I've done 70 some of these interviews, actually probably closer to 90 with unreleased stuff, but Mike, I've never talked about the testing process.
Yeah.
Ever once. Could you guys you walk in the door and you just give blood, and then what are they checking for?
Okay. So so when we go to say talent testing in Tampa, right, we schedule everything online and pay for it ahead of time. And then we go in, we check in, they verify our IDs and everything. Then we go and pee in a cup. And then we got to swab our bums, and then we bring that into one of the other rooms, and then they will take blood, and then they'll do the oral swab. So there's always new things coming out. Like MGen was the last big thing that they started adding to the testing, which is Mycoplasma genitalium, which is a bacterium that can cause all sorts of yuckiness within your system.
True.
So that one's an extra test that you got to test for. And then the swabs were the other one. There was mutated forms of gonorrhea and chlamydia that were not showing up in blood and urine. So they started finding that they were only detectable in oral and anal swabs.
Wow. That's that's a day to go in there and really handle this stuff over. So what is time frame on that? What does that make you clear for? That's what I've never quite understood.
Okay, so there are some studios that they want you on a 7-day test.
Okay.
So within the first 7 days of coming back clear from everything, content creators and stuff, typically you're good up to 14 days.
Okay.
A lot of times they'll, just for extra safety in case somebody somewhere down the line messed with someone that didn't test, because it does get a little bit more challenging in a like at a big convention or whatever. So before you start your next set of collabs, you'll usually go and get a fresh test.
Okay.
Just to double check to make sure that you didn't pick up anything that you didn't know about during that convention.
So a performer who's full time is getting tested once a week, right? Is
usually every 2 weeks.
No, okay, every 2 weeks. Okay.
But yeah, if something new comes up or if someone else is wanting a new test, I mean, we kind of do whatever we can for each other in the industry to feel safe.
Right.
So
And you guys,
like, hey, look, I know you guys have been shooting all week. You know, we'd really appreciate it if you went and got tested again. Or, hey, you shot with this one person that's had some that we know has had maybe a shady past. Would you mind going and get tested again? And, you know, it's sure, no problem. Because feeling safe and comforted that, you know, everybody is good to go is kind of a big thing.
Yeah. That's I heard a story from a girl I interviewed yesterday. Apparently AVN 2 years ago was totally ruined because somebody. Yep. Oh, are you aware of this?
I've heard about it.
Yeah,
yeah. I don't remember the name. I'm not just being coy, and I probably wouldn't call them out anyway. But it is good in the industry to oust certain people that'll do real bad things, right?
Yeah. But we try to do that inside of just along other talented creators and stuff. Sure. We don't like to put it out through the airwaves or through the internet or anything. Yeah. Like there's enough of that's going on, but that's something that we need to handle professionally amongst our people. Yes. Our fans out there following us on Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that. I don't want them to have to deal with all of that with any extra drama. We can handle it on our own, and that's just our personal way of dealing with that.
For sure. But something like that is cardinal sin, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely it's not good stuff. You know,
no, not at all.
How can anybody trust you again?
What is the wildest thing you would like to do that you've yet to do, Jazmine?
Okay, I guess the wildest thing is
porn-wise, not like skydiving with like shooting a gun at the same time or something.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to thank Red Bottom Productions. It's going to be Jazmine, the 10-guy gangbang.
Wow.
Jazmine, yes, so that's probably going to be the wildest thing ever.
What kind of frozen vegetables are you going to sit on your way home? Peas are real good. Peas are good because they're flexible. Yeah. To just kind of,
to get beat up so bad.
He's just gonna have to massage it with his tongue.
Oh God, I feel so bad for JR again. My apologies.
You do what you got to do to support your partner. You know, so I'll fall in that sword if I have to.
So guess what, guys? I break this up because I don't have confidence in my own ability to talk with little games and this and that. We don't have to play a game. We're actually out of time. You guys were so
really?
engaging
we talk a lot.
And entertaining. No. I'll tell you afterwards the point of the games. It's more for one people who give one word answers very much. So I will just say to you, you guys were excellent today to talk to. I want to make sure I plug you properly, okay? And again, you just heard them this whole time. The talk is good, so check out the Just Cruz'n Podcast, please. Yeah.
Thank you.
Make sure you follow Jazmine Cruz fans on OnlyFans. And for links to everything, you can check the episode description, which I'm going to put it to you guys. All of your shit. All of the stuff, including your YouTube channel. I want people to go check you out and subscribe. Your OnlyFans, your Twitter, your this and that, everything. Go down there, folks. Check it out. Make sure you follow these two.
Down here.
See, she's just so fun. And it's always with the tongue hanging out, which kind of makes it sexier, even though it's goofy. Ladies and gentlemen, Jazmine Cruz and JR Cruz, hosts of the Just Cruz'n Podcast and world famous porn stars.